Welcome back to a new episode of the Shout at the Devils podcast. I'm your host, Justin Brady, and I run Devils Fanatics on Instagram. And I'm here with my co-host, Daniel Amoia, who's a Devils beat reporter for the Hockey Writers. And we've had a lot of positive episodes as of late, Daniel. And to be honest, we were bound for a -1, and that is what's happening right now. The Devils have lost their first two games on their Western road trip, and they haven't been pretty games at all by any means. The Devils have given up a combined 13 goals in these first two games so far. Goaltending hasn't been good. Defense hasn't been good. Just everything all together just hasn't been good. What are your initial thoughts on these two games so far, Daniel?
I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's kind of a reverse of what we've been talking about basically every episode. I kept saying everything they were touching was turning to gold. That was obviously not the case so far, but two games that the thing that stands out to me is really Brett Pesce. I think this stretch kind of shows how important Pesce is to the team. And I mean, they're a team that excels off the rush, and Brett Pesce is one of the better puck moving defensemen in the league, on top of being a warrior and blocking shots and being a defensive stalwart. So it's that in combination with not really having an adequate replacement. Seamus Casey is someone who will be very good in the league at some point, but I don't think he's currently ready to take on that role. I mean, it's a huge responsibility, trying to fill the shoes of Brett Pesce, and it's just very difficult for a young kid to do. So I feel for Casey in that spot, but he just hasn't looked ready so far. And the Devils are really struggling as a result. And I'm not pinning this all on Seamus Casey. The team as a whole has just not played as well as they have. But I also do think that goaltending has made it worse than it is. If you look at some of the underlying numbers, they're a little worse, but not too different from some of those games in the 8-game win streak. But you go from getting a lot of saves to not really getting any. It makes a big difference in the final score. So and also finishing as well. The Devils seem to constantly finish their chances during that stretch, and now they struggled to. You look at the second period against San Jose, they were buzzing the entire time and then end up getting outscored 2-0 in that period when they were clearly the better team. And even the first period against Colorado, Markstrom lets in those two, even though the Devils were clearly the better team that first period, and it just completely changes the narrative. So yeah, just a lot that's not going right now. But you know what? I said it last episode. I said it many times actually so far. It's gonna happen. The team wasn't gonna have an 888 points percentage the entire season. That's not realistic. They're going to go through bumps. It's about how they respond. Now, granted, not a great response in San Jose, but it's going to happen. You know, teams are going to face adversity, and the Devils are facing their first real adversity of the season right now.
Yeah, it was bound to happen, as you were saying. I'm not gonna lie, I was very disappointed in this game because you give up 8 goals against Colorado, and the team was talking about Sheldon Keefe, Nico Hischier were talking about, all right, all we care about is how we respond in San Jose. And just right off the game, right off the bat in this game, the Devils give up a goal within the first minute of the game, and that's not a good response at all. And then you have a very poor delay of game penalty, and then it just turns into 2-0 Sharks, 3-0 Sharks. Then you get one on the power play, and then you have a very good second period overall, and you can't finish your chances, and then you let two very bad goals happen towards the end of that period, and you're down 5-1, and then basically the game's over from there. So even like Bryce Salvador was saying, it just wasn't a good game, and you never hear Salvador basically just say, like, he's trying to be positive as much as he can be possibly, and he even said, like, it just wasn't a good game at all by the Devils, and it wasn't. And yeah, they're facing a lot of adversity right now, and they're gonna have to overcome this. And good teams overcome this type of play, and even the injuries, like losing Brett Pesce, like you could see it out there. The defense is not the same. They're not cohesive as they were during that 8-game win streak. They're not really connecting together as they were. It's going to be a big hurdle for this team to overcome. Another thing is they got to finish their chances on 5-on-5. They're relying too much on their power play over these last two games. Tonight against the Sharks, both the goals came from the power play. So you don't want to start that trend where like you have to rely on your power play to score goals. And then the biggest thing is the team has to be so much more disciplined than they've been. They're taking a lot of bad penalties that are they're just shooting themselves in the foot. Really, just over this whole season so far. Like I wish I had the stat, but for most penalties taken, the Devils are definitely up there in the top 5. I have to imagine. They've taken so many penalties this season, and they're putting themselves into bad spot. And lucky enough, over that 8-game win streak, they were able to kill the majority of those penalties. But now you're getting to a point now where it's like, all right, you lose Brett Pesce, and now Dougie Hamilton's on that penalty kill, and that changes a lot right there. So, and the penalty kill hasn't been good. The special teams has been good like it was during that 8-game win streak, right? Other than the power play. The power play's still clicking. That's great to see. But the penalty kill has not been good at all. And overall, the defense hasn't been good. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot to overcome for the Devils. But you have 2 more games left in this road trip. You got to respond in at least one of these games. You cannot go 0-4 in this road trip because that could really drag down a large portion of your season once you come back home. Like, that could just continue on. Like, that stays with you as a team. Like, it's not like something that, all right, you know what? We went 0-4 on the Western road trip. We're gonna shake it off. Like, you're not gonna shake that off. You need something to be positive about going back home. So the Devils need a response in this back-to-back coming up against LA and Anaheim.
Yeah, I mean, especially us as Mets fans, we know what it's like when a team starts the season off hot, but how do you sustain it? How do you keep that going? That's what's truly important. So obviously it goes without saying really that the Devils need to respond. I have the stat right here, 3.7 times shorthanded per game. That's 7th in the league, 7th worst. So they've been up there just in the box way too much. And like you said, I mean, you're not going to kill off every penalty like you were. It was bound to regress. And especially with Brett Pesce out, I mean, there are instances where, say, Siegenthaler takes a penalty, he's out of the equation. Pesce's out, Kovacevic is out, and Cody Glass is out. That's 4 penalty killers right there who are vital to this team. So it's just playing with fire. I have a few other numbers here. I mentioned goaltending briefly. It happened last game. The Devils stormed back and made it a 5-4 game, and then Jacob Markstrom gave a goal to McKinnon that, according to Money Puck, had a 6% chance of being a goal. Same thing here, 2-0. We know 2-0, most dangerous lead in hockey. 1.9% was the probability of that Alex Wenberg shot becoming a goal from 51.1 feet out at a 49.8-degree angle. It goes through, and from there, the team just kind of looks flat. And it was the same thing in Colorado with that one Markstrom. We know what a big save can do for momentum. I mean, even when we look back to when they played the Sharks at home, there was that breakaway late. Allen makes a save, and it's all happy, all positive vibes. If he doesn't make that save, it's a completely different story. The Devils got taken to overtime while the Sharks are on a back-to-back. Goaltending truly can change the entire narrative of a game, and we're seeing that right now. Also, in terms of the defense, when Pesce was healthy, the Devils were giving up 11.5 high danger chances per 60. Now it's 14.5. It may not seem like too big of an increase, but that's a 26% increase. So that's pretty sizable over the course of a game. And then goaltending as well. One more number I have. In their 8-game win streak, they cumulatively stopped 4.29 goals above expected. Since then, in just these 2 games, minus 6.53 goals above expected. That's a complete 180. That means of those 13 goals the Devils gave up in the span, they probably, just with average goaltending, should have given up about 7. That's a massive difference. I mean, that's almost double. So take everything else aside. And look, Jacob Markstrom and Jake Allen aren't that bad. Markstrom has really been fighting, and this was really Allen's first bad performance of the season. He's been rock solid. So it's going to happen, but just poor timing. So they really need to get things going because they don't want this to spiral out of control. We've seen it in seasons past. Was it 2018-19 when they started 4-0 and then had that really bad road trip? That can't happen. They need to get back on the right foot and get things going again for sure.
Most definitely. And look, the goaltending has been very shaky. They given up some soft goals over these last 2 games, like very soft goals that should be saves, right? But look, I have full confidence in this tandem still. Too many people are giving up on Markstrom. Way too many
Yep.
people, and I'm honestly annoyed about it. Are we just gonna disregard everything that Markstrom did last season? How he was honestly the team's best player in the playoffs last year? He really was. Like, Markstrom was an animal for them. And look, yeah, he had certain times where maybe he wasn't the best, but overall, like he won the Devils a significant amount of games last season. And the same could be said about Allen. And I don't like that so many people are giving up on Markstrom. He will figure it out. He's too good of a goalie not to figure it out. I know he's aging, and people could use that as a argumentative point, and I get that. It's not a horrible point to make because as players age, they're gonna regress eventually, right? But I feel like over the course of Markstrom's career, he he can have spirals at some point, but I feel like he will get back to playing Jacob Markstrom hockey. Like he's gonna figure it out eventually. So just give him time. Maybe I mean he's gonna get a start coming up this weekend, right? Him and Allen are both gonna get a start. So they're definitely both of them are gonna want to bounce back, most definitely. So we'll see how they respond. And also a little positive note. Let's talk about Dawson Mercer, right? Like, look, 6 goals so far. It can't be all negative. Like the team's 8-3 at the end of the day. 8-3 at the end of October. That's great. Like if I would be very happy with that before the season, especially considering their schedule. It's just an absolute gauntlet. So 8-3 is amazing. Obviously it's disappointing because they were 8-1 and then they have the 2-game losing streak now. So like that I get, but Mercer has been a nice surprise earlier on the season. Getting those goals in front of the net a lot. Nice deflection on that pass from Jack Hughes. And I think the second goal was off like a weird deflection off of Dougie Hamilton slapper. So, I mean, Mercer just finding the back of the net, and that's all you could ask for. You want that depth scoring. So, really happy to see Mercer starting to find that goal scoring touch once again. That's big for the Devils. They need that secondary scoring, right? So, that's good for Mercer.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. He's been that Dogson Mercer of 3 years back, and I've talked at length about that, obviously. He's been a great player and really, honestly, too disrespected throughout his career. Even if he didn't take a step from last season, he's still a solid role player. But if he's taking that step now to be someone who certainly belongs in a top six, which he's looked like so far, that's a huge thing for the Devils. I mean, he's above a point per game right now. You cannot possibly ask for more than that, and he stays healthy. He's great on the penalty kill, just does so many things right. Dawson Mercer, can't personally sing my praises enough for him because he is such an important player for his team. Now, I know we have a couple comments here from fans, and it kind of puts all into perspective. If you're a glass half full person, you're going to be looking at the stretch one way. If you're a glass half empty, you're going to be looking at it another way, and that's these ones. I'll start with this from Chris Del Rosso. He said, "We suck again. This team will never learn." Justin, what do you have to say?
Look, all teams are gonna have bad stretches at some point, and they will learn from it. They're too good of a hockey team not to learn from it. They have to learn. They have no choice but to. They have a really good core right now. They have a bunch of star players. They got a good forward core overall. The defensive core is still good even without Brett Pesci. I have a lot of trust in the players. They're gonna learn eventually. And look, that's the thing. Like there's a lot of negative fans in the Devils fan base. One win will just totally switch their minds. Like right, like it just will. Like a win against the Kings Saturday night, yeah, would change everything. Like maybe like a nice 5-2 win over the Kings, and everyone would be like, all right, we're good again. Now we're 9-3. Like so, look, 2-game losing streak. It's okay if it turns into 3. It's like all right, not that good, but like they're still in a good position. Though 8-game win streak really put themselves in a good position going forward. We saw that back in 22-23, right? They had that 13-game winning streak. So that really put them in a position to maybe have some bad losing streaks throughout the season for the rest of the year. So it puts them in a good position. Even like last year, they started off first place in the Eastern Conference in late December. And after that, they were just really a pitiful team. They were a below average team, but because of that early success, they were able to still squeak into the playoffs. So it's good that they went on that 8-game win streak. It gives them some wiggle room to have these flaws and to be able to learn from it.
Yeah, I think people forget that 22-23 season where they won 13. Not long after that, they lost 6 in a row.
Yeah.
But they had that cushion and they ended up finishing with the most wins in a season franchise history. So obviously people couldn't really complain. It's kind of funny. The Devils fan base I almost view as like a version of that meme, that roller coaster meme where it's like, it's so over, we're so back, it's so over, we're so back. Like that's literally how it is. Like lose one game and the skies fall, and win one game, winning the cup, playing the parade. Um, so yeah, have another one here from Devil's State of Mind says, obviously this one much more glass half full. Everyone relax. They won 8 out of 11 in October and are playing through a bunch of injuries. They'll get it right. And I mean, it's hard to disagree with that. It's unfortunate that they're going through this stretch, but look, like I said, lost 6 in a row in 22-23, and we're still fine. This is 2, including one against a very good Avalanche home team and against the Sharks team that, let's face it, isn't really what their record says. Their offense is, I think, one of the better offenses in the NHL. I mean, Macklin Celebrini has been borderline Hart candidate so far. He's been otherworldly. You have guys like William Eklund, Will Smith, Tyler Toffoli. Like, it's not a bad offense. Just their defense has been horrendous, and it was better tonight. But it's a team that the Devils certainly can't take lightly. And I know, especially with their history with the Sharks last season, it's frustrating for Devils fans. But you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt because you or not even with a grain of salt. You can be frustrated. The team could be frustrated, fans could be frustrated, but at the end of the day, the team is 8-3 and like you said, Justin, really couldn't have asked for better, especially with that schedule. So it's hard to really have too many complaints. It's just unfortunate that this is how October is ending and it's going to be with a bad taste in everyone's mouths.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I'm upset about this loss, like, and any fan would, like, especially against a team that you know you should beat, right? They should beat the Sharks. They should have swept them this season, and they didn't. The Sharks always find a way to beat the Devils at least once every year, and that's very frustrating for a team that, at this point, is not a young team anymore. They're very experienced, and they're playing against an up and coming team that is still trying to find their footing, still trying to find their way, still trying to work their way up the ranks in the NHL. But look, 8-3 is a great start, as I was saying. Couldn't ask for a better start, honestly. I'm very pleased with it. The Devils are still, I think, either first or second in the NHL right now. You can't
I'd say I think the Penguins are first right now, believe it or
Penguins.
not, which is
Uh,
pretty
look,
nuts, I believe.
that's the thing. That's with hockey. Like, anything could happen. And look, I don't know if that's gonna be sustainable for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. We might be talking
There's
one.
no shot.
I don't know. You never know.
Put me on record, there is no shot.
All right, we might be coming back to this, but you never know. Like, hockey's crazy, teams go on runs, and the Devils are just on a little skid right now. And you just have to focus. The team has to focus on not making the skid drag out. I think a lot of times last season I saw from the Devils is they would get 3-game win streaks, but that would be followed up with a 3 or 4 game losing streak. That would be a very common theme that the Devils would go through last season, just not consistent enough. So you want to start finding that consistent hockey again, like maybe win 2 out of every 3 games, right? And if you do that, like, that's a form of winning hockey. Like, you're gonna make the playoffs, you're gonna be at the top of your division most likely, and you're gonna set yourself up for playoff success. But this losing streak cannot drag out. Because then it's like, all right, maybe this team is not as good as we thought we were, as we thought they were, I should say. So definitely got to get at least one win to end this road trip. Cannot go back to Jersey against a very good Montreal team next Thursday with the sour taste in your mouth. It cannot happen. Find a way to win at least one game, and this team is totally fine. But yeah, got to find a way to win. But look, 8-3, good month of October overall. Honestly, it was probably better than any month that the Devils had last season. So that's a big plus right there. Maybe outside of, like, maybe the earlier months, but 8-3 I think was better than any of the months they had last year, honestly. So considering that they couldn't win more than 3 games in a row, so good month overall. Very pleased with how the Devils played this month, especially considering who they played this year so far.
Yeah, it's hard not to, and I mean, we talk about Pesci, but also Jonathan Kovacevic has a massive part. If he was healthy right now, it's possibly a different narrative, and they're also down Cody Glass. Um if they have Glass at that 3C spot, Lamico moves down to 4C, they're a deeper team. So that it's just unfortunate. Injuries happen. It seems like they've happened more to the Devils than most teams, but if they could get that out of the way now and maybe have that better luck, maybe it's all a blessing in disguise getting it out of the way, and then they're ready for playoff hockey because I mean, we saw the playoffs last season; they were beyond decimated. So, if they could get that out of the way, that's definitely a big thing.
Yeah, that's the hope. We'll see what happens. Devils have an upcoming 2-game slate against the Los Angeles Kings and Anaheim Ducks on Halloween weekend. Should be very interesting. We'll see what happens. We will have an episode for you guys probably Sunday night or either Monday morning. We'll let you know on our story. And then the Devils have a 3-day break, which will definitely be much needed because the Devils have been playing a lot of hockey games as of late. It's been really no 2-day breaks at all. It's just been a game basically every other day or back-to-backs nonstop. So this will be a much needed break for the Devils. Let them get well rested, maybe get some guys back from injury like Cody Glass. That would be pretty sweet right there. So we'll see what happens. But yeah. Any last thoughts at Dale?
No, I think we hit the nail on the head. Just a lot of hockey left. I don't think it's worth overreacting about. We'll see how these next few games go.
Exactly. Don't panic yet. The Devils are in a good place right now. So until next time, thank you guys for listening, and we appreciate all your support. Peace out.
Peace.